ladies. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but thank goodness for you guys being patient and loving and kind and supportive. So we are going to get started. And first of all, let me welcome you guys to what is going to be a very, very great evening. My name is Wendy Whitmore. I am the founder of the My Warrior Life community. Tonight we will have Miss Portia George. She will be the person that will be guiding us through this webinar. The topic for tonight is when I'm in crisis and stressed, okay? And so what I want you guys to do is, I would love for you to, as you have questions arise, please make sure you drop them in the comment box, because at the end of this webinar, we're gonna answer a couple of questions, okay? Also, we have a PDF of this so that if you miss anything, you want to go back and instead of trying to take notes while you're talking, while Portia's talking, you'll be able to go back and look at it. So if you drop your email in the comment section, we will email you the PDF version of everything that we are going to talk about tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Portia George.
Hi, how's everyone doing? We're going to talk about tonight when I'm in crisis and stressed and what that looks like for us. Because right now, with the time of a lot of media happening with the coronavirus or COVID-19, being in home more often or stuck in the house, a lot of people might feel like they're in crisis or they might be struggling to cope. So tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. And one of the things that I want to talk about is defining crisis. So next. So as we define crisis, the Webster Dictionary came up with a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. So anytime you feel extremely stressed and you feel like it's overwhelming or overbearing, it might be considered a crisis. Everyone's crisis look different. And so we want to just kind of touch on those bases of feeling stressed and overwhelmed and what a crisis looks like for you. So it's any time that you feel intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. Go ahead. Next. That might look different in the different parts of your body. So crisis shows up in the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul in different ways. When we talk about the mind, you might think about worry or excessive worry, where you get a lot of thoughts about worrying about A, B, C, all the way through Z. And racing thoughts, where you just feel like there's too many thoughts happening in your mind, you just cannot shut them down, or you just having trouble focusing. I know I had that problem yesterday. I was trying to do some papers and I'm like, I just cannot get my mind started so I can focus. So that's one of the things that mind is. The next one is body. You might feel really tired or lack of energy. Your body might just feel really fatigued. Crisis shows up that way. Crisis also shows up in the spirit. So you might feel like a lack of faith, if finances is happening, or if you feel burdened, or you feel like you're in crisis and you just feel like, okay, I feel hopeless, or that faith is just struggling. It shows up in your spirit. Your soul, it shows up in lack of motivation. So, it's just like hard to get out the bed in the morning. You're struggling to get motivated to maybe do things around the house, or just some type of motivation, you're struggling. Next. So some of the ways that we can release the stress tips is, so these are tips. And some of the ways that we can release the stress or the crisis that you're experiencing right now in each area of the body, mind, spirit, and soul. For the mind, with those excessive worries and those thoughts, all we want to do is just kind of shut our mind off and be able to just get out of our mind so we can clear some of that worry, some of those thoughts, and some of that difficulty. a really good thing is you can do word puzzles. So I know sometimes we get frustrated because we can't solve the words and we can't find them inside of the things. So don't put so much pressure on it. It's just freeing the mind, not thinking about it, just being absent of the mind, and just kind of find as many words as you can find inside of that puzzle. Or another thing is kids coloring books. Now, we specifically put kids coloring books for a reason. Yes, because, you know, everyone's like, oh, we have these adult coloring books and we have all of these things that you can print out on the internet. You know what? That becomes too much. You have to concentrate. There's too many lines. It's very, very intense. With a kid's coloring book, it's very simple. It's very easy. I mean, you can get them at the Dollar Tree. You could print them out, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, any of those fun characters. And it's just so simple. The lines is big. A face is huge. A flower's there. It's just absent-minded. You don't have to really think about it so hard. It's just something free. And then your mind is able to rest because you're not actually focusing or trying to solve anything. You're just coloring it within the lines, or even if you want to go outside the line, just a simple kids coloring book. The next thing for the body tip, jumping jacks. You know, a lot of times people say, well, you know, I want to do this, but I don't have any tools at the house. I don't have any exercise equipment. I don't have any of this. Simple jumping jacks. All it takes is you for your legs and your arms to just jump up and down and do some simple jumping jacks. You know, you're able to just go outside in the living room, in your bedroom, and just get up and do a couple of jumping jacks. That's going to help wake your body up and bring you energy in there. Another thing is when we talk about the spirit, you know, spirit is very one, right? We have the faith, and right now is we're in crisis, right? So with crisis, we might feel hopeless, helpless, and a lot of things that we can't do. So with the spirit, it's just going back down to simple meditation and praise. Now, I know meditation is a big word out there that everyone's using, and it's hard to meditate. So let me explain what type of meditation I'm talking about. Just basically sitting in the room, being able to just kind of be present with your own breath, your own body in quietness, and kind of reflect on it, the word, reflect on maybe some soft music, you know, that type of meditation, not shutting your brain down, because even for me as a therapist, I can't shut down. When my mind is going and I got so much going on, it's hard for me to get into a quiet zen and really focus and meditate. So just start off with simple bases. We're talking about crisis. If we're in crisis, we're talking about the most simplest things. So just sitting in a quiet room, maybe just focusing in on some deep breathing in and out, maybe listening to some praise music or some type of worship music, and just really quiet. That's what kind of meditation we're talking about. The last one is our soul tip. You know, our soul, we're real big on the warrior life with mind, body, spirit, and soul. Soul is something that everyone always said back in the day and even now. What's good for the soul is laughter. So you can just crack a couple of jokes if you got some funny friends. You could put on a musical, because, you know, some of these musicals is hilarious, like The Wiz and some different ones, some Tyler Perry ones, shows, or some type of comedies. On Netflix, they got a lot of stand-up comedies happening right now, and on TV. So just put on something that's good for the soul, which is laughter. If you could just bust a quick joke real quick and get some laughter going in a couple of times a day, you will feel extremely, extremely, extremely better. And that's really important. So if you try to just do these simple tips when you're in crisis, stressed out, or overwhelmed, these tips will help you to kind of come back to a balanced place where you don't feel so stressed out, don't feel like you're about to go overboard or feel so burdensome. You know, we're able to relieve it. You're able to kind of go back to a middle place where you can kind of continue to focus and keep moving forward. Wendy, you got any things for them?
I do. So I'm gonna kind of recap a little bit. So we're gonna go back up to number 1. So I think one of the things that you know, we have to remember is being honest about when we're struggling to cope, right? I think that is extremely, extremely important, because a lot of times we don't want to admit that we're not coping, because what happens is, right, everybody has like their comfort zone that they go to in crisis. And when we are in crisis, we think we're coping because we go to the things we're comfortable with. And a lot of times they're very unhealthy. right? So a lot of times we don't realize that we are struggling to cope because we've gone to our unhealthy things. But if you are confused about whether or not you're struggling to cope or not, what I want you to do is think about when you're at your happiest, are you doing those things right now? And if the answer is no, then you're struggling to cope, right? And I know I use the word happy, and I tend to say that happiness is fleeting, but that's a word that people can sink their teeth in a little bit more. You know, so if you are like doing all these different things, and these aren't the things that you would normally do when life is good and chill and, you know, it's kind of going as it's going, you're in crisis mode. Okay. So remember that for number one, right? And remember, you know, the definition for crisis, because crisis is important, right? It's intense difficulty, trouble, or danger, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in immediate danger. It doesn't necessarily mean you're in immediate trouble, but it's an intense or difficult time in your life. And regardless of whether you're an essential worker or not an essential worker, or have children in school or not, or wherever you are right now with COVID-19, there is a level of intense difficulty. So stay present with that. The last part is, you know, as the My Warrior Life community, we talk about the mind, body, spirit, and soul, and how they operate and function as one, right? It's a full 360 package. And so that's why we want you to pay attention to how crisis shows up in the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. It is extremely important. I will share this with you guys. I have not shared this publicly, but I am now on day 17 or 18 of fighting the worst respiratory infection of my life. I've been quarantined away from everybody, including my own family, since about March 24th. And it is very difficult because it is showing up in my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul. And I thank God that I'm intentional, that I'm intentional about knowing where I'm at in life, because I recognize that there was something wrong with my body, right? It started in my body. And so that's where the crisis showed up. You know, I'm severely asthmatic. I've shared that I have a chronic illness that affects my bladder. And so I've been battling that for the last 17 or 16 days. And so I have to be very intentional about how it's showing up in my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul, right? I'm literally, as we're doing this webinar, I'm living it. I'm living this webinar. I wouldn't say I'm fighting for my life, but because I'm not, you know, I'm not in any danger, but I'm definitely fighting to get better. I'm definitely fighting to get better. And so I love these tips, you know, that Portia put out, because I'm a word puzzle girl. You know, for everybody knows that I was a granny girl. I was grandmother. My grandmother was that was my old lady, y'all. Like, matter of fact, here's this blanket. Oh, I love it. It's the last blanket that she used before she passed away when I was visiting her. So I brought it home with me from Sacramento. And, you know, like I put it on my lap and I do my word puzzles, and it just takes me to a very peaceful place. I'm trying to get better right now. So jumping jacks is not really the thing for me, but I am making sure that I'm moving my body because, you know, I've been quarantined to my room for however many days. So I have to make sure I'm keeping my body moving. I'm praising. My son Jalen made me an amazing praise and worship playlist. And I tell you, when I shower, when I wake up, when I go to bed, like I'm able to praise more than I'm able to meditate and sit quiet, because I'm already in solitaire. So quiet is not for me. And laughter, my people keep me laughing, y'all. Like, they send me memes, they send me jokes. It has been, like I said on that video that I shared maybe like a week and a half ago, being able to find the blessings inside of the burden is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Portia, do you see any questions on your watch party? Does anybody have any questions? Make sure you drop them in the comment box. Don't forget to drop your email. You're going to want this PDF. We also got some amazing other wellness resources that we're only going to share through email. So you'll only be able to get them in your inbox. We're not posting these resources anywhere else. We got some great resources that we've come up with for wellness to get you from this week until you tune in with us next week, same time, 7 p.m. in the My Warrior Life page. I know some people had a hard time finding it. All you do is go to Facebook, type in My Warrior Life, 7 p.m. next Wednesday. And we will be talking about, what's our title for next week, Portia? Because I can't pull it.
Let me see. Hold on a second.
Jewel, drop the title. If you're out there, Jewel, because Jewel, she is our new My Warrior Life ambassador. She will be leading next week's.
Next week when I'm quarantined and bored.
Oh yes, and everybody, just so you know, there will definitely be a twist. There will definitely be a twist. Remember, we are dealing with the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. So we are definitely going to make sure that we're feeding you the full 360. If there's not any questions, Portia, do you have anything you'd like to add before we jump off?
No, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And we're around. If you guys have any questions about, when you're stressed and in crisis, what it looks like, you guys can feel free to ask questions in the page, and then we can always come back and answer them.
All right, you guys, as always, it's been a blessing to serve you. From myself, Taylor, Portia, Patrice, and now Miss Jewel, who's an addition to My Warrior Life community. Blessings, y'all. And as always, y'all, good night.